The book I read for my book report project was The Blood of Olympus by Rick Riordan. This book has 9 prequels to it, in the Percy Jackson series and the Heroes of Olympus series. This is the final book in that series. So, the main conflict of this book is the 7 demigods you see on the screen are fighting the Earth Mother Gaia or Jaia. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Now, these 7 demigods are Frank, who can turn into animals, Hazel, who is the daughter of Hades, Jason, who is the son of Zeus, Piper, who is the daughter of Aphrodite, Annabeth, the daughter of Athena, Percy, the son of Poseidon, and Leo, the son of Hephaestus. Annabeth is really smart, as like Athena. Piper looks really nice, as does Aphrodite. And yeah, Percy can control water and stuff, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, these demigods are eating some salad with some chicken, and they are on their way to the Acropolis in Athens. Right now they are at the other edge of Italy where they got out of the House of Hades. Again, there is 9 sequels that are must read before this. So they are trying to get through to Athens, but the giants have set traps between where they are and Athens. So it's going to be hard for them to get to Athens alive. But there's another side to the story. So Nico, Reyna, and Coach Hedge, Nico, son of Hades, Reyna, son of Mars, or Ares, but the Greek-Roman conflict is crucial, and Coach Hedge, a satyr, are on their way to Camp Half-Blood at Long Island to return the Athena Parthenos, which will bring peace between the Greeks and the Romans. This is the person who is following them, a similar figure from the constellation Orion. He is a giant who has a nice bow, which would not be my weapon of choice, but he didn't have his bow in his hand, and you can see his daggers right here. Anyway, so now back to the Argo 2. Jason and Percy are fighting the storm god, Chemopleidia, I'm pretty sure that's pronounced. She is one of the daughters of Poseidon. So what she has coming, which had nobody planned, was she brought a giant to kill Percy and Jason. A giant is a son or a daughter of Gaia or Jaia. Again, I don't know how to pronounce that. So, Chemopleidia brings along Polybotes to fight Jason. Percy, right now, who is right here, has gotten poisoned by some bad water. Jason has a little necklace that you can see right there, and that's very important because that's what's keeping him alive. It can help him breathe underwater. So anyway, Jason promises that both the camps will be filled with fear of Chemopleidia if they build a shrine. Now this is hard. He tries to convince her while trying to fight Polybotes. Finally, Chemoplegia turns to their side and kills the giant. And a giant can only be killed with a god and a demigod. A demigod is like a son of God, which is half mortal, half human. Again, I really wish I didn't have to explain a lot of these things because they're all in the books before. Now, this is basically just reading. So, Nico, Reyna, and Coach Hedge meet the hunters of Artemis, which is on the island where Reyna is born. Orion breaks into the hunters' fortress and kills a few hunters, but they need to rebuild. Nico is running really low on energy until a guy named Bryce Lawrence, a servant of Octavian, the Roman leader, comes to them and raises a ton of skeletons. And remember, Nico is the son of Hades. Then Nico sends him to the underworld where his father Hades lives. So he basically just destroyed him, used his own skeletons against him. Now, this is a key part. Bryce Lawrence is an outlaw, basically. And Reyna is going to be outlawed when she gets there. So having Bryce Lawrence die, killing Bryce Lawrence was huge. But Nico was running really low on energy, and he would have died unless Coach Hedge used his plant powers somehow. Used like roots or something, seeds, to get Nico up and eventually to get to Camp Half-Blood where the war is starting between the Greeks and the Romans. Now, the reason they're warring, another thing I shouldn't have to explain as it is in the prequels, the Argo II accidentally opened fire on the Roman camp. Now, since the Argo II consisted of Coach Hedge, who accidentally set off the fire, of course, Percy, Jason, and Annabeth, and Piper, it's mostly Greek. Therefore, they're like, war. There's no other way, really. So they have to get to the Athena Parthenos back in order to bring peace between the two. Now, the Argo II has now reached the Acropolis. Now, you might not realize, but this is still a part of the Rising action. Because, now, the giants, Percy, Annabeth, and Piper, sneak up to the Acropolis where the giants are trying to raise Gaia. But if they need, in order to raise Gaia, or Gaia, I really don't know how to pronounce that, they need a drop of demigod blood in order to raise her. So eventually they start fighting, and it's just the three of them versus like 100 giants, and you know how giants can only be killed with a demigod and a god. So the Argo II comes along and just barrels the giants really hard. Someone, I think it was the Porphyrion, the giant king, he swipes at the Argo II and gets it and brings it down, and so finally all the demigods are in a death circle, I like to call it, where all the spears are pointed at them of the opposing army, so to speak. Then the gods come out of the sky, all of them, including Chemoplegia, and they fight with the demigods in order to kill the giants. But in the process, Percy gets cut on the nose, and a drop of his blood touches the earth. This means that Gaia has risen. So, it's pretty interesting because Leo has spent a lot of time in the hole fixing the Argo 2. And you might just thought he was fixing the Argo 2, but he was doing something way more important. He was actually doing something so important that to defeat Gaia. They had to go to Apollo, which is a very important point I accidentally left out, to get it was like a life syringe basically. You could only use it once. And the son of Apollo, the healing god, the health god, gave it to him. This will save the demigod who dies. Now, there have been prophecies that say storm and fire, which would be Jason and Leo. And then Nike, the goddess of victory, and Zeus's chariot person, said that one of the 4 people that were here would die when they were fighting her. These 4 people were Leo, Percy, Annabeth, and Hazel. Now, there's only one person who has I forget what that's called. A person who has both of those, who's in both of those, and that's Leo. So Leo thinks he's going to die. And he does. So they get to Camp Half-Blood with the power of Zeus within a few seconds. Gaia has gone to Camp Half-Blood, and Nico has killed Octavian with a thing that made himself go. It was like a slingshot that backfired on him. It killed him. Anyway, so Leo, he got killed. And it was so surprising. He was on his dragon Festus, which is, again, in the prequel. Make sure to read the prequel. And he eventually brings Gaia out of the earth onto land, and that kills her. Finally, the demigods have victory, but there's a big explosion, and Leo goes basically around the world. Nobody could find he or his dragon. They all found stuff of the Argo 2. It was basically death for Leo. But he had the syringe, and he injected it, and he was still alive. They all thought he was dead, but he was still alive. So it was an interesting end. Had a little twist on it, but I thought it was very, very practical, and I could see that coming. I would recommend this book for fellow readers who have read the prequels yet again. Very important. Read the prequels. Anyway, I'm not kidding. Make sure to read the prequels. It is very, very important. I give credit to Rick Riordan. He mentioned me in his to all readers who love my books. That's what he said, so I'm in there, believe it or not. So, anyway, thanks for watching / listening, and, yeah.